Slow down there. Easy now, girl. Easy. What am I doing? Get this right in a minute. Guarantee it's shit. Hi there, this is Chris Piercy of GYST Coaching. That's Gist Coaching. Here today to talk to you about how to stop worrying about the future and catastrophizing. Worrying about the future and worrying about what's going to happen in the future is incredibly common in anxiety sufferers. It's often said that depression is a kind of backwards thinking disease, as always ruminating over mistakes you've made over the past. Obviously, that's not uncommon in anxiety, but it's more prevalent in depression. Whereas anxiety is more of a future-based disease or illness where you're always thinking about what could be happening in the future and worrying about it and seeing where your brain goes with things, because the smallest thing can trigger something off and all of a sudden you're thinking the absolute worst could happen. Some people say, well, why wouldn't you worry about the future? Because literally anything can happen. But the thing is that just because anything can happen doesn't mean that it will happen. And just because anything can happen doesn't mean that the bad stuff that you're always thinking about is going to happen. In this video, I'm going to give you 13 different ways in which you can help yourself to stop worrying about the future and catastrophizing. Let's get straight into it. First one is so easy. It's so easy and it's so simple, but we often kind of overlook this. You absolutely do not know what the future holds for you. No, you don't. No, sorry, you literally don't. You have no idea what's going to happen in the future. So put that out of your head straight away. Just tell yourself, I do not know what's going to happen in the future. Do not join the dots in your head without any concrete proof. What we often do if we have anxiety is that something will happen and instantly our brain will then jump to the consequence of that thing. We'll go, right, this is here, and that definitely means this thing here. But actually look at that definitely bit in the middle. Make sure there's actually any concrete proof between this and this before you let your brain carry on with that train of thought. Breaking these chains between these thoughts is incredibly important in reducing your anxiety, because if you can prove that what you're thinking here just isn't true, then that kind of absolutely breaks down the chain, and then the further thoughts don't run off into oblivion or wherever your brain goes. So don't join any dots without concrete proof. What if, what if, what if? This happens so many times. People say, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? Play a little game with yourself. Every time you say, what if something happens, ask yourself the reverse. What if this didn't happen? Just see what that triggers in your brain. Often it can be the thing that breaks it down and the things just disappear. So for every what if, ask yourself, what if it didn't? Give it a go. Number 4, in case you're counting, don't assume you know everything. Often something happens. Get this right in a minute. Stop assuming everything. Often when we have anxiety, it's often about other people and their reactions to things, and they're going to find out something and then they're going to do this or that or the other. Right? You can often be really surprised by how someone reacts to something. When you're absolutely certain they're going to react in this way, they can actually react in an entirely different way. Do not assume you know how people are going to react to things in your life. Do you hate maths? Probably. Start working in probabilities. So when your brain goes off in this kind of tangent and starts thinking about all these terrible things that might happen to you, or these awful things that people are going to think or do, whatever, once you've kind of reached that point where you go, oh, what if this thing happens here? And you get to the event of what if, just take a step back and just say to yourself, okay, what is the actual likelihood of this particular thing happening? Work it out in your head as a percentage. Guarantee it's microscopic when you actually think about it, step back and look at it logically and realize that whatever you're worrying about isn't going to happen. Number 6. What makes you think that you're so special? What makes you think you're so amazing and different that only bad things can happen to you? I mean, it's quite something for your brain to just absolutely automatically assume that in every possible scenario, the worst thing possible is going to happen. So what makes you think that you're so special that only bad stuff is going to happen? Think about that. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, then please click the like button. And if you're watching on YouTube, then subscribe. Really helps. There's more videos like this coming up. And you probably want to stick around for number 13 because it's probably the best of the lot. Number 7. Check how accurate that crystal ball of yours is. Think about all the things that you've assumed are going to happen. Think about all of the what if scenarios that you kind of formulated in your head, and just have a look back in history and see how many times you've actually been right. Like, just check to say, well, I thought I was going to crash the car and cause a multiple car pileup. Oh, that didn't happen. Like, just look at the track record of your success of actually predicting the future. Guarantee it's shit. And whilst we're on the note of that, check your track record for success. So occasionally, once in a blue moon maybe, you will have experienced scenarios where I knew this was going to happen. And the very fact that you're watching this or listening to this or whatever means that you got through that scenario. Maybe it wasn't very much fun, but you made it through and you got out the other side. So even when you assume this kind of worst case scenario is going to happen, you made it through. So if the worst happens again, the same will happen. You will make it through to the other side. Number 9, realize that this kind of worst case scenario isn't the end. Now, often, in our heads, when we kind of have these kind of what if scenarios or whatever, we'll get to this kind of peak moment of like catastrophe or disaster. And we'll say to ourselves, wow, what if this particular thing happens? Okay, well, let's assume that it does. Like, unless you're actually dying, life doesn't actually stop at that point. So what if you get to this point, okay, then what happens? And then what happens after that? And what happens after that? And what happens after that? And as you go through this long enough, eventually you'll be tucked up warm in bed, nice and safe again. Follow the chain of events through and realize that where you think the end is, isn't the end at all. Slow down there. Easy now, girl. Easy. What am I doing? I don't know. Slow your brain down. So typically when people get really anxious, they'll talk about their brain going at 1,000,000 miles an hour, their heart going 1,000,000 miles an hour, blah, 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 blah. How about you slow yourself down? Get whatever you're thinking, write it down. Just get a bit of paper, get a pen, write it down. Just write it all down into sentences. Write out whatever's going in your brain and just slow it all down. You'll be amazed at the impact it can have if you just take the time to get the thoughts out of your head, which is a nice cathartic exercise, but also to get them onto paper and to see them. You can be really good at just keeping yourself calm and stopping yourself worrying about all those things that you're writing down. Number 11, if you are counting, I am kind of. Thought stop. This is similar to what we just, is it? Already ignore that. Thought stop. So if you're starting to think about stuff, just literally say to yourself, stop. Stop thinking that. Doesn't help. Stop thinking it. And then if it starts coming from your head again, stop. Stop thinking that. Doesn't help. Move on to something else. And if it happens again, stop. Just literally, if you're in public, maybe don't do that because you're going to look a little bit weird, depends if you care or not. If you're on your own, just think to yourself, stop. Just scream it in your head. Imagine it's got a big neon flashing sign saying stop. And just tell yourself, that is not a good thing. That is not a helpful thing for me to think. Stop. And just stop it. Just literally tell yourself to stop. If it starts again, stop it. If it starts again, stop it. Basically, stop your thoughts. Number 12, accept that bad things do happen. It's rubbish, but sometimes you will be absolutely right. And the thing that you think is going to happen is going to happen. And it is going to be bad, and someone is going to get ill, or someone is going to die, or you are going to have an accident, or you are going to fail the test, or whatever. And just accept that's just part of life. I mean, nothing is ever just plain sailing for more or less anyone. There will always be bumps in the road. There will always be things to overcome. But it's realizing that these things are going to happen, accepting them, and then deciding what you're going to do to overcome them, or what you're going to learn from the event. It kind of makes us stronger as people, makes us grow as people, and really helps with kind of personal development. So just crap as it is, accept that bad things are going to happen. Sorry. Saving the best till last, in my opinion. Number 13, recognizing that uncertainty is actually kind of cool and kind of exciting. It is. I mean, one of the things that people tend to kind of say is that, I don't know what's going to happen. What if this? What if that? Anything could happen. There's so much uncertainty. I just want some certainty. You need to learn to tolerate uncertainty rather than, have less uncertainty, if that makes sense. You've got to get on board with the idea of uncertainty. If you've ever watched like a football match, there's a really kind of tense, or any sports event really, any sports event where it's a really tight game and we don't know the outcome, that is exciting. Imagine watching that, knowing exactly what the result was going to be. The result was absolutely certain. You knew there was going to be a last-minute goal or whatever it might be. One of the most exciting things I think I've ever seen was the Cricket World Cup final between England and New Zealand. Like, it was absolutely insane. No one knew what was going to happen. Everyone was going completely mental, and it was just immense. Such a kind of crazy, exciting experience, and it got people who didn't even like cricket into cricket because it was just so exciting. Imagine if you knew exactly what was going to happen. Like, it would just be boring. Now, the best way I can get people on board with this idea, because you're probably shaking your head and saying, what the hell is this guy talking about? It's nuts. Relationships. Whether you're currently in a relationship or you've had a relationship in the past, you know for a fact that kind of first bit where you're just kind of finding each other out, and that bit is exciting when you've kind of got the thrill of the chase and you've got someone who's interested in you and you're hoping you're going to wake up to a message from them, and then when you do get a message, you don't know what it's going to say. Like, if you knew that was all certain from the day dot, it would just be boring. Well, it wouldn't be boring. It'd still be nice and everything. But that kind of uncertainty is really exciting. Without uncertainty, life would be boring. Just take some time, after you finish watching this or listening to this, just take some time and think about what life would be like if everything you did had a certain outcome. Like, if you knew absolutely everything that was going to happen. Is that a life that you want? And if it isn't, then you've got to then accept that you do kind of like uncertainty. And if you like uncertainty, then you've got to recognize that that is part of life and experiencing the full range of emotions that it has to offer. So perhaps now you are kind of getting on board with the idea of uncertainty. So the best advice I can give is to embrace it, accept it, and recognize it is actually a really good thing. Now, the 13 different techniques and tools I've offered you there, are really good, and hopefully a few of them have resonated with you. And the ones that have, try them out on yourself and just see how it makes you feel. All of the things that I've said to you are based in cognitive behavioural therapy, and tried and tested for decades now. And it's an absolutely solid way of getting your brain, back into the place where you want it to be, where you're not so terrified of the future. Now, if you want some help one-on-one with this, then I can offer that. I do offer life coaching and cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy. If you're interested in that, then there is a link below. And if you're not interested in that and would like to do it on your own and explore more options that way, then I do have a course called Anxious to Awesomeness that will take you from wherever you are, teach you these techniques and others in a lot more depth, give you advice on setting goals for the future, and hopefully getting you to awesomeness. I'll put a link in the description below for that as well. If you enjoyed this, do click the like button, please subscribe, and I'll catch you for another video soon. Shouldn't have done the sound. That was